it's me, Shaw360, and this is my review for, I think, episodes 11 and 12 of Uncontrollably Fond. I think episodes 11 and 12. I don't know, it's been a minute since I've watched the show. Honestly, it's been a minute since I've watched any dramas because I've been working like a dog lately. I've been coming home really late, and when I come home, I am tired. I'm even going to bed early, so yeah, it's been a minute since I've had time to devote to any show. But I'm glad I'm back with Uncontrollably Fond because when I make a commitment, I try to stick to it. And also, the show's got, what, 2 more weeks and then it's over, so yeah, I'm gonna power through this one, man. Power through it. So, but it's not that bad. I know it seems like I'm struggling. I'm only powering through it because it's hard to fit the time in there to watch shows. This show is not a hard watch. You know, in the beginning, it was a little bit difficult because it's a winter drama being shown in the summer. So you kind of have to get your mind right for it. But I really like the fact that this is a more character-driven show than W. Like, W's got some fantastic actors, don't get me wrong, but the plot is just so gripping that, you know, you're here for this wild ride. Uncontrollably Fond is very much more thoughtful, and it's more about the moral decisions that people make in their lives and how they react to each decision they've made, like the kind of daisy chain effect of every decision that they've made. And I enjoy watching that personally because, you know, for me, it's all about self-improvement. You know, in life, if you're lucky, you'll continue to learn, you'll continue to have experiences, you'll continue to be able to make changes to yourself that are for the good, that are for the positive. And I think that this show is a great example of how, you know, the series of decisions you make can sometimes kind of strong-arm you into a position in life. And it gets tight, and at that point you have to tell yourself, am I gonna keep doing all the things that I've been doing, or am I finally gonna make some real change? Am I finally gonna try to get myself, you know, back on whatever track that I thought I needed to be on? And so I've really enjoyed watching the characters, watching the way they work, watching the way they interact with each other. The evil characters on this show are really bad characters, and I love me a good bad character because I always wait for their comeuppance. And the good character, Junyoung, Woo Bin, you are a fantastic actor. I am loving watching you. Every moment of watching you, you are phenomenal. And I root for him so hard, and it hurts my heart so much that he is dying. Like, there's been no hint of any kind of reversal on this fact. Like, he's still dying. And so, you know, I just want him to achieve whatever it is he means to achieve before there's no more time for him to do it. So we start out with him on the floor, like we did at the end of the last episode, on the floor writhing in pain. His mother has come to take him to a hospital after hearing that he's sick, but he's like, no, don't take me to the hospital, take me to Noel. And his mother's like, I'm not taking you to this girl. You need to go to the hospital. Why do you want to go to this girl so much? And he tells her, I need to go to this girl because I can't do to her what you did to my father. And all of this whole situation we're in is your fault. And at first, I'm kind of like, what do you mean it's your mother's fault? I don't get it. This doesn't seem right. And of course, his like kind of play uncle comes in and is like, you don't speak to your mother that way. How dare you? So they don't let him out the room. He stays in there, sick and all, and he kind of goes on like a hunger strike because, you know, they're not letting him out. And he has no way of escaping. So later on, his mother comes back to see him because the things that he said about the father, it bothered her because she has been idolizing this man for over 20 years, almost 30 years. So she comes back to the house not to check on her son and see how he's doing because he hasn't eaten in days and he was sick the last time she saw him, but to harass him about the fact that he called the father names, that he said that the father was, you know, a bad person because he's the most honorable, kindest, most selfless, most generous, most honorable, all the adjectives, all the adjectives. And finally, Junyoung just tells her, I know who this man is, and he's not who you think he is. He's actually a really terrible person, and I'm going to tell you how I know because I witnessed it firsthand. And he tells her the story about, you know, Noel. And of course, the mom's like, that gold digger's really got your mind. You're not even worthy to be called your father's son, and you need to call him father instead of calling him mister. So then Junyoung hits her with the two-piece and says, not only does Noel deserve to kill him, but I almost killed her trying to protect this man's honor because of some dirt that she had on him. Now that is kind of like the death blow for her because in a lot of ways, her son's life has been her trying to protect the part of Assemblyman Choi that she thought that she owned. You know, when she first met him, she was just stunned that a guy as kind and sweet and generous as him would love somebody as uneducated and plain and simple as her. Then when she finds out he's a law student, she goes even further to protect him because she's thinking about how good he is, and she's thinking he could be a great person for the people, and I don't want to come in the way of that, even if I personally love him. But then, raising her son, and she's so poor, and she gets no help, and it's so hard for her as a single mother in Korea, that she says, you know what? Even if I have to starve to death, I'm going to raise this child, and the one piece of this perfect man that I have, I'm going to come back later and I'm going to show him that I took good care of it, and that I let it live up to this idea I have of him. I've made a copy of that. And for her, I think a couple of things happened when he confronted her about all of this. Number one, you know, she realized that her son was right. He wasn't really fit to be a prosecutor because he wasn't infallible like how she's always told him a prosecutor should be. But number two, the man that all this time she thought was so perfect was not. And all these years when you kind of beat on yourself about how terrible you are and how you could have sullied his name and been a stain on his record, and that's why you had to hide in the shadows, that you did all that for nothing. You did all of that for nothing. You know, he didn't go on to be perfect. He went on to be just as corrupt as everybody else. And it hurts her. She has a nervous breakdown behind it. But, you know, she kind of needed that too. Like, that was her punishment for treating her son so terrible for so long, for spending all of his life putting him up against this invisible pedestal that she didn't even want to tell him about, you know, and finding out that it was all just a lie. You know, she forgot about this man's humanity. And in the interim, she lost her son's humanity. So I was really pleased to see that development happen. Like, that made me happy. Well, after the mother's confronted with everything that happened with the Assemblyman Choi and the history with him and Noel and Jun Young actually gets out the house. But of course, he can't get Noel out of jail at the time of night that he gets out of the house because the jail visiting hours are over and the CEO's got the lawyer not talking to him, so he's in a bind. So instead he goes to visit the Assemblyman, and he visits the Assemblyman at his house. The wife is there, the daughter is there, and of course the wife is shaking in her boots because she's been all about protecting her perfect image, protecting her perfect family, protecting the web of lies that she's been involved in. And unfortunately, Jun Young's biggest fan, the daughter, is there, and she tells Daddy, Jun Young's outside! He's outside! Let him in! Let him in! And so they let him in, and of course he goes to talk to the Assemblyman, and the Assemblyman's kind of torn. You know, Jun Young did save his life, but they did have kind of an altercation before about him being disrespectful, and then before that, he knew him as a young potential law student. So, you know, he's kind of like these warring affection feelings and like disrespect feelings. So he talks to Jun Young, and Jun Young's like, listen, I need you to get Noel out of jail. And the Assemblyman was like, I can't do that, and you know, I don't know why you're coming here behind that stuff. We could be friendly, but you keep pushing the issue. And he's like, you know, honestly, if it was me, I would have tried to run you over, but I don't think that's what she was trying to do because she swerved. But if it was me, I'd have hit you dead on, motherfucker. And of course, the Assemblyman was like, why are you talking to me like this? Like, I thought we were friendly when we first met, and now you're angry at me and you hate me? What's the deal? So he drops off the USB from all those years ago from when he stole Noel's purse. And he leaves the house. He runs across Jitae on the way out of the door and says, you know, he's trying to blackmail the Assemblyman. Well, the Assemblyman plugs it in and sees that it is all these videos of him leaving the whorehouse all those years ago. And so, of course, he immediately gets on dispatch and is like, you know, let her out, drop the charges. And the wife, because she is like a terrible plotter and schemer, busting the door, no, you can't let that girl out. Don't listen to scum like Jun Young. Which, you know, if I was the father, I'd have been like, have you been listening at the door this whole time? Why were you doing that? And number two, I'd have been like, you know, you're calling him scum, but he saved my life. He pushed me out of the way of an out-of-control vehicle. Like, I could have been killed. He's not that big a deal. But yeah, anyway, Noel gets out, and of course, while she was in jail, she's been fantasizing about Jun Young coming to save her, because before she went to jail, she kind of cracked up. After the whole car accident and everything else, she just kind of felt like, I just need to get away from it all. Jun Young, take me away, and like she went there. Her mind went there, and it was still there. But when she got out of jail, Jun Young wasn't there. So, she kind of was like, okay, what's going on? Instead, she's greeted with a different welcome home party. Her brother pulls up in this car, or a car pulls up with her brother in it, and who's driving the car? The assistant of Assemblyman Choi's wife. And Assemblyman Choi's wife gets out and is like, let me talk to you for a minute, little girl. Basically tells her, bitch, I told you the last time I saw you in court, I didn't want to see your face again, and I just want to let you know, I know where you live, I know who your people are. If you don't want me to have another person in your family killed by vehicular homicide, you need to kick rocks and make sure I don't see you no more. And that moment in the drama probably was the angriest I have been the entire time I've watched the drama. I really wanted to jump through the screen and throttle that woman. And I was thinking, now would be a good time for you to buy a gun, because this bitch needs to die. Because it's one thing for you to talk bad to me. It's one thing for you to say things that, maybe make me look like I'm a bad person to the public. It's even something else for you guys to have sued me in court and won and made me have to pay off all these loan sharks. But, like, they hit her brother. Or they almost hit her brother. They almost killed her brother. So at this point, it's like, I need to kill you before you kill my family. You've actually made a threat to me, and now it is kill or be killed time, bitch, and I'm ready to fight. So, yeah, I really hate the Assemblyman's wife. I hate everything about her. I hate her fucking face. I don't like her. And also, we'll talk about her and her deviousness a little bit later. But anyway, that happens. So after the confrontation with Assemblyman Choi's wife, she goes to Jun Young's house to try to get him to see her. Because, she's been waiting this whole time. She thinks that he loves her. He's been telling her, I love you. And he won't come to the door. And he won't come to the door because the night before Noelle got released, Jitae called and was like, what right do you have to love her when you were the one who almost got her killed? And, of course, Jun Young's been thinking about that this whole time, but I guess nobody had confronted him about it. But now to be confronted with it, he's kind of like, what can I do for her? I can maybe make her life better, but I don't deserve to love her. So he takes a different path. He really does. He's like, if I can't have her give me the love that I desire from her, the least I can do is protect her future and give her the justice that she was looking for before I stole the justice from her. So he proceeds to try to find out what happened to the person who actually killed her father. And that's another interesting kind of subplot. I'm glad they brought that back, because that was like the whole thing from the very beginning of the series. And of course we know that it was the head of the political party's daughter that did the hit and run. But he starts by fighting the prosecutor who prosecuted the wrong man for the crime. And that prosecutor, his life has fallen apart. He's another one of these guys who was a good guy, what most people think a prosecutor should be, but he got tapped by Assemblyman Choi to do a dirty thing, and when he didn't want to do it, even though he eventually later did it, he got so hazed and disrespected and, vilified by the other corrupt people he was working with that he lost his job. And then his wife thinks that he lost his job on purpose or willfully because he didn't care about the family. So he's out of touch with his daughter who is sick. Like, this man's life is in the tubes. He makes no money. He's wearing shabby clothes. Like, he's just really having a hard time of it all. And so Jun Young makes a special guest appearance at his daughter's birthday because his daughter's in a children's hospital because she's very sick. And he makes the guest appearance, talks good about her father, and then talks to the father and basically is like, listen, I just need you to give me a name. I know there's nothing you can do. I'm not asking you to testify. I just need you to tell me who it was. And of course the guy, he's uneasy about it because, this ruined his life. And I'm sure he's thinking, what little life I do have left, I can't, put my family in any more danger. But Junior's like, I'm dying. I'm dying. The Assemblyman is my father and Noelle is my girlfriend, and I just need to do things right before time is up. And so the guy gives him the name of the person who is responsible, the head of the party's daughter. Almost at the same time that this is happening, Jitae he's kind of going through his own life change here. So after yelling at Junyoung about, you know, you don't deserve to love Noel, like, and I don't deserve to love Noel, and you are even worse than me, blah, 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 Junyoung confronts him, smacks him in the face and says, you know, you talk about how I don't deserve her, but what about your parents and all the shit they do to her? Somehow or another, Ji-tae finds out that his mother tried to run over Nojik. When he finds that out, I think that was the last straw for him, because all throughout the series, he's been begging his mom, tell dad the truth, do the right thing, don't continue this whole vendetta that you have against this woman, quit trying to live in fear, daddy loves you, you can be honest with him, things will be okay. But of course, you know, his mother's psycho bitch, she can't be talked to. But finding out that his mother tried to intimidate Noel by running over Nojik and that Noel's going to leave the country, he is sprung into action. He shows up at her place, prevents her from going to the airport, basically forces her back into the house and is like, no, you can't leave. I am here and I'm going to take care of things. And she's like, who are you to take care of things? Because of course she only knows him as Mr. She doesn't know him as Ji-tae. Ji-tae finally admits who he is, that Assemblyman Choi is his father, the Assemblyman's wife is his mother, and she doesn't even know his real name. This is his real name. And of course, she is kind of like, stay the fuck away from me. And this is just another blow to Noel, because at first she's trusting Jin Young to love her and take care of her. He doesn't do it. Then her friend that she's had for so many years, who she thought was just like her and was kind of the comfort for her to lean on in tough times, turns out that he is the scion of these two people that have basically been set out to ruin her life since her father died. And she goes to the Assemblyman's house to kind of, you know, vent her frustrations, and the little house lady is there, and she's like, I don't know what to do, I can't help you, nobody's home. But she just lets it all out. She's like, you know, I was prepared to live the terrible life that you guys set up for me with all the lawsuits and everything else since my father died. But then you send your son to watch my pain, like I have so much that I can ruin you with. Why would you do that? What is it about me that you're so threatened about that you would just steal any bit of happiness I could have from me? You know, who do you think I am? And of course she breaks down. Ji-tae goes and gets her away from the house before his parents can see her. And they go, I guess, to a river's edge, because the river's edge is where people hang out. And that was where she asked Jun Young to kind of start seeing her a little bit, or she softened up to his advances. That's where she tells Ji-tae, would your parents hate it if you dated me? Would that be like the worst thing that could ever happen to them? Because if it is, damn it, we're going to start dating from now on. Because she's fed up. She's fed up. At this point, she's like, it's not even about me loving you or anything else like that. I just need to eke out as much revenge as possible. Put me in any scenario you can, but at this point, I've got to destroy them, because this has just been absolutely too fucking much. So he gets her a job working for a celebrity, and she, you know, dresses herself up for the job. We'll get to that later. But, you know, she's willing to take advantage of everything he can do for her to get at the parents. And for his part, Ji-tae does his own thing. You know, his father shows up to work, and all these guys throw eggs at him, and they're like, you know, it's your fault that we lost our food stands. And the father's like, no, it's because you're not obeying the law of citizenry, and if you had, then this wouldn't have happened. The son's like, no, it happened because you set them up. And of course the father's like, are you really trying to embarrass me in front of all these strangers right now, son? Like, what's this about? And the son takes it. They have a meeting later on after the son is like totally embarrassed him in front of all these people. And the son's like, listen, I've decided that I'm not going to be doing anything that you and mom want me to do from now on. And if you want to fire me and kick me out the house, that's fine, because I'm not going to be playing your little games no more. Which I remember thinking, boy, you entitled little shit. Because, like, for real, if I was ready to talk to my parents that way, my shit would have been out the house already, because I would know I could never go back home after saying some of this stuff. But, you know, I mean, he already did one big disrespectful move, because while he was confessing to Noel who he was and what he was skipping out on his engagement party to Jungin, which, Jungin. You know, the actress that plays Jungin, you really need to give her a round of applause, because she does something, and I didn't notice it until these two episodes, that I thought is really keen about her acting. Whenever she's trying to be the perfect daughter, the perfect fiance, the perfect daughter-in-law, she has this really large, uncomfortable smile on her face. when she is showing Jitae her anger, or when she's plotting against somebody, or when she's lashing out, her face looks way more natural. And I think it's because that is who she is. Maybe she's not a terrible person, but maybe she's not this ray of sunshine and brightness that her father expects her to be. When she's in her engagement dress for their engagement party that he never showed up to, that Jitae never showed up to, her father's talking about, you know, my daughter, all her life, all she's wanted to be is Jitae's wife, and she's been in love for 20 years with the same man, and isn't it precious, da-da-da. And you can see the unease on her face, and she plays it off to nerves. But I really wonder if maybe the reason why she feels like this is because she herself is not allowed to be who she wants to be. And maybe that's the reason why, you know, her moral code is just so flawed, you know, because for her to laugh after hearing that a man has died, like that, I have a hard time getting over that. Like, I hated her for that moment. But, you know, I feel like it's because her father has kind of always made her think, those people are beneath us. We are people who are supposed to live like gods. And so, you know, you need to put pedestrian things underneath you. But I do think that somewhere in there she has a heart. Even if it's a twisted, gnarled, mutant thing that somewhat resembles a heart, I think it's there. And I think that somehow or another she twisted all of this obsession with Jitae and made her heart believe it was love. So after he doesn't show up to the engagement party, and it's embarrassed her because, you know, all the party heads are there and stuff, she shows up to the boutique where she bought the wedding dress and shows out, like arguing with the sales lady, throwing the dress on the floor, talking about how horrible the dress is, how embarrassed she was. Then she proceeds to go to a bar where they give her the bottle, and she just sits and drinks herself into a stupor. Finally, she leaves the bar, and she's drunk by this pool, thinking about what a miserable time she's had, and she falls into the pool. Here comes Jun Young, because of course he's taken to following her because she is the next piece of the puzzle to getting the justice for Noelle. So he follows her to the pool, and he jumps in and saves her life from her drowning because she was dead drunk. She could have drowned. Pulls her out the pool. So after that, I'm thinking, okay, because he says, you can't die, you're not done yet. I'm wondering, what does he have planned for her that he needs her to stay alive for? Turns out that the mother-in-law, Jitae's mother, Assemblyman's wife, she decides that in order to kind of curry favor with the daughter, because, you know, this whole engagement fiasco happened, she says, I want you to start working on my projects, because no matter what happened, I still consider you a daughter-in-law. So my company was going to produce this movie, but I want you to produce it, honey, because I love you so much. And of course, you know, she's, okay, mama, I'll do it. The movie is a movie with this one celebrity whose name I can't even think of now. He'll probably play a larger part later. But Jun Young takes one of the lead roles because, you know, he's got to be in her orbit. He's got to be close to her so that he can manipulate her. And of course, when she finds out he's in the movie, she of course says, I know who you are because you saved my life that night. And he's like, oh, well, I wasn't going to mention it, but you're right. You know, that is me. They go to shake hands. Right when they're shaking hands, here comes Jitae carrying Noelle on his back, because Noelle, she agreed to let Jitae find jobs for her now that she couldn't work for Jun Young anymore. And one of the jobs was as the PD for this backstage documentary they were going to do about this celebrity who was going to appear in the movie that Jitae's mother, her company, was going to run. So he walks in carrying her because she had dressed up for the first day of work and was wearing these heels to work, which is never a good idea when you got to stand on your feet all day. And her ankles and stuff were bleeding. Her feet were tore up, so, you know, that happens. So at the very last scene, we see Noelle kind of riding Jitae's back, and we see the handshake between Jun Young and Jung. And that's where everything fades. Now, you might have noticed during this whole time, I hardly talked about Noelle's character, any growth or anything that she's having. And I'm going to say this. I don't have a problem with Susie's acting because most of the time I just forget about it, honestly. But I do think that this show would have benefited from a stronger lead actress, because there are a lot of emotions that I don't think that Susie can necessarily handle, or she has a hard time expressing the range. Like when she's sad, she's kind of got a one-note sadness to her, which is unfortunate because there's a lot of different things that in my mind Noelle is dealing with. She's dealing with her world being shook up. She's dealing with the fear that she could lose the only remaining member of her family. She's dealing with kind of, you know, a love that she's harbored for a long time finally coming true and then being revealed to be a fantasy. You know, so I mean, there's a lot of depth to what's happening to her character. And I think more of a character actress maybe would have been a better person to portray the range of emotions that this woman's having to deal with as her life is being manipulated by so many parties. But unfortunately, you know, Susie has always been kind of, you know, a more popular kind of lighter-hearted actress maybe. Like she's had some sad moments in dramas and stuff, but for the most part the characters she plays are kind of, I almost want to say brats maybe, and that's not what this character is. And I think that it would have been better for her almost to have played the character Jung-eun. Like I feel like that would have been better for her almost to play the villainess than to play the heroine, because I feel like there's just too much that needs to be expressed emotion-wise that Susie's not able to handle as well as she could. I still think she does a passable job, but I think that there are other actresses out there that could have done a much deeper job than her and given a much more emotional performance, especially when you see all the heavy lifting that Woo Bin is doing. Like he's killing Jun Young, and I think it would have been nice to see Susie hold up her end of the agreement. But yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I skipped. Oh, there were some really cute moments with Nojik. The assemblyman's daughter thinks Nojik is cute, and she's been trying to text him, and he's like, whatever, get away from me, girl. I don't want to have nothing to do with it. And the friend, Nadi, goes to pick him up at school, and the assemblyman's daughter, Haru, she's like, who are you to be holding hands with him? And she's like, I can do whatever I want with this boy. I could hold his hand. I could put him in a bear hug. I could slap that ass. I could do whatever I want to. Who are you? And of course, she's like, I'm a girl who likes him. And he's kind of like, what? You like me? Hey. But yeah, I thought that was really cute. I love Nojik. Like, he's just such a great little character, you know, because he's such a earnest young man, and he loves his big sister so much, you know, and the world that he's in right now, he doesn't understand it all, and he's so vulnerable because he's experienced so much loss in his life. And I really care for his character, and I hope good things happen to him. I just want to make him soup. I want him to eat more, and I want him to get more rest. But yeah, I'm enjoying the show still. It is a very different experience than W, but it's still a very worthwhile experience, and I hope you guys are enjoying it too. Leave your comments down below. Like I said, I probably left out a lot of stuff, but that is the reason why I have the comment section, so you can tell me what I left out, and I can give you my commentary on it. So I will see you on the next review. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye!